Howdy, everyone, and welcome to Retro Repair Roundup episode. The screen says 91, so welcome to episode 91. We have an awesome show tonight because we have an awesome guest tonight. Before we get into all of that, it's me, Joe, your boy. We got Javier here, of course, and we got Ron, and we have our guest, Chris of Displaced Gamers. I want to take a quick moment to greet all our viewers tonight. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for taking time out of your Sunday evening or, whatever time you come back to watch the show. We appreciate that. People in the chat we got some weirdo named Joe's Computer Museum saying something about fangirling. I don't know what that's about. We've got Jack68K, Everything Broken Garage, Jamie's Hack Shack, 8080s. I can never, the 86 guy, Jamie. We've got, we got Garth, Thomas, Francois, Gut Bomb, Jen's Retro Stuff, and I'm sure other people will show up because this guy is a legend, an absolute legend. So, without further ado, let us introduce our guest, Chris of Displaced Gamers. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. This has been one of my dreams to talk to you for like billions of years. So, yes. Let's go ahead and just kind of get started right into things. Big ask for me. Most folks know you as, the NES glitch hunter and glitch fixer. And with all the cool Game Genie codes, the little single codes, it's like, hey, this game isn't jank anymore. Oh, by the way, thank you for using the word jank a lot. It's kind of a thing. We want to know how you got there. Like, more specifically, what was your first NES game, or even was the NES your first console, or did that come later? Or
the NES was my second console. My first console was the Atari 2600. And the NES came out, and it's hard. I still love the Atari 2600.
Of course.
Relatively speaking, though, when the NES came out and I saw Mario for the first time, it was mind blowing. And it was a friend had one, and I got to play that. The Legend of Zelda had just come out, and I got to play that, and I said, I've got to have one of these. And so I got one in 1988. And it kind of became my main, I guess the biggest console in terms of my personal history, in terms of connection. And that's kind of why I got into that one specifically with some of the Behind the Code series. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And then I guess you were asking about games, like favorite games.
What was your first game?
So my first game, aside from Super Mario Brothers, was The Legend of Zelda. And in fact, so sadly, I do still have my original cartridge for that. I no longer have the box. Short story on that, sometime in the 90s, I said, gosh, I've kept all these boxes for these NES games, and they're taking up so much space, and I threw them all away. I do regret that. But funny enough, I did find the receipt for The Legend of Zelda just a few years ago, and it was right. It was about this time in it would be 89, I guess, because I got that Nintendo for Christmas, 88, 89, went to Toys R Us and purchased The Legend of Zelda, and I still have that receipt. So yeah,
cool.
And yeah, both of those would I love both of those games, among many others as well. So
before we get to Javier's question, I forgot to ask this at the beginning. I usually ask this, but I'm getting so distracted by the fact that you're on the show, and this is awesome. But remember, everybody, if you have any comments or questions or anything for Chris, drop them in the chat so that we can ask those at the end. Okay, go ahead, Javier.
Now to my question. You talk about your first game, but what about what's your favorite NES game and why?
Let's see. So I think the one that stands out for me the most, surprisingly, is the Guardian Legend. I do love The Legend of Zelda. I've played that through many times. I've played many of these games through many times. And when the Guardian Legend came out, it was, it's a multi-genre game if you haven't played it. And it's one of those games that I haven't played that much. And that's an interesting thing. So whenever I have a favorite game, I don't really play it that much. I usually wait a very long time and then play it again. So I try to almost keep myself not too familiar with it and then load it up when I can and play it. And I played the Guardian Legend through probably just a few years ago, and I said, yeah, I really do still love this game. So, and going a little bit behind the code on that, I believe it uses off-the-shelf parts from Radio Shack in order to do bank switching. It doesn't use a mapper chip or anything fancy like that. And I mean, it's just very impressive coding by Compile. So I wish they had done more multi-genre games like that. So if I'm not careful, I'll start going on a tangent about Compile and how much I.
We are here to spend as much time as you feel free spending. So if you go on a tangent, just go. People love that. Just do it.
So certainly I feel like that one is among my favorites. So but
Cool.
Javier, that's the one that I gotta pick out, you know.
Awesome.
So since you asked. So
what got you interested in learning about coding for 6502 assembly? Was it just nest bugs, or sorry, my window moved. Was it like like the nest bugs, or were you doing assembly first and then the nest stuff came later?
So my background is computer science. I have a degree in computer science. At the time that I got my degree, they still taught assembly. And so I learned 68K. And so I had mostly, I guess, a basic Turbo Pascal, Turbo C++ background at the time. And when I first saw assembly, I mean, it really it makes you think in a different sort of way when it comes to writing code. So I had that kind of on the back burner of my brain because I didn't use it that often ever since, graduating. And so years roll by, and then in 2020, I think it was, I did a video that was a bit of a sampler video about some of the things behind the scenes, and it was much more focused on differences in ROM revisions. And some of that stuff, if you're familiar with the website, The Cutting Room Floor, it's a really great website that documents a lot of this sort of thing. And I started looking into that and saying, I don't really know too many people that dive too far into variants. Some people do, but nobody goes into it in a whole lot of detail. And so I created this sampler video, and then I said, well, what if I were to get more into the code? And I don't know if you three are familiar with, there was a short film in the late 80s called And the Cat Came Back.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
And the very end of that, there's a song that they sing in it, and the very last line, this man is trying to get rid of this cat who's wreaking havoc. And the end of the line is one little cat, how hard could it be? And then after that part of the song, there's kind of a backing, like a how hard could it be? And that's foreshadowing it's incredibly hard. But that was the line that kind of popped in my head when I said, well, what if I just started looking into the code of this? I've never programmed in 6502 assembly before. And so what if I looked into it? And if you go look at the first episode of Behind the Code and you subtract, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, that was the very first time I ever looked at 6502 assembly code. And so I started refreshing myself, remembering the Motorola 68K I did, and said, oh yeah, okay, accumulator, registers, yeah. And then just started kind of going from there. So that was kind of how the ball got rolling on Behind the Code. So
very
cool.
And 6502 for me.
Sure.
6502 is the best CPU, and anybody else who has a different opinion is objectively correct. Where can people find Brain? I can't read. I can't put words together. Where can other interested folks get started learning with 6502 coding? Do you just suggest picking up a book and diving in, or looking at actual disassembled code, or?
Well, I guess it depends on, we're all different in how we approach things, how we think. I would say if you have programming experience already, that you could probably go into some of the more technical books on 6502. I actually just recently acquired a book that was written, I think it was in 1979, about 6502, and it's very thorough. thorough is good, but many people just need a gateway, some sort of way to get into it. And nowadays, there are actually lots of books that are very focused, not just on 6502, but saying, here's 6502 for the Commodore 64. And you basically can start developing Commodore 64 software. You could do the Atari 2600 flavor, you could do the NES flavor. Um, it's not, if you haven't programmed at all, it's I would not start with assembly code myself. I would get some. I would go for something that's a bit more modern and common, and just kind of get your brain wrapped around coding, and then try to slide over to 6502. And I would try to do. I'm sorry, I don't have a specific modern book to recommend on that front. I do know of a course, Pakuma, if I'm saying it correctly. We follow each other online. I haven't taken any of his courses, but he does many courses for programming in 6502 or even PlayStation, and focuses on the consoles and kind of tying that together. So that might be something that people would want to look into. But it's kind of a bit of a word salad of where I would start. It is kind of a choose your own adventure, when it comes to that sort of thing. And I would say, and in fact, on that front, if you start something and you say, I'm not getting this, be it a book or a course, try to change gears, try to go a different direction, because there are so many options out there, and we're all different in how we go about learning stuff. Or you could, I know this is a self plug, but you could just start watching my videos a little bit and kind of like, maybe you say, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of see how that might work. And then after you've watched several of those, say, well, what if I were to get my feet in the water and try to do a few things and go from there. So
I would agree with that. I think everybody should watch your videos. I think that even if you're not somebody that's a programmer, I think that you can understand that, and you are very kind. There's a lot of times where you'll just say, hey, we're getting ready to do a code walk. It is kind of in depth. If this is not specifically your thing, skip to time code, whatever, and then it picks back up on maybe the more accessible kind of things. But I do like the fact that you talk to several different levels in the videos, where kind of you can get down in the weeds for people that absolutely love that. And I don't always understand everything, but I always enjoy the presentation.
thank you. My main goal was to make videos to break down games for both programmers and non-programmers. And that's quite a line to try to straddle when it comes to writing the script for things. And sometimes, being a programmer, I'll get really excited about really getting into the weeds on something, and I'll have to kind of take a step back and say, okay, how much of this can I actually cover and not lose people? Because when it comes to what is technical and what is fun, they go in that direction, and people that are really good at YouTube and have a large following, they know that the more technical you get, the smaller your audience is getting. And so you quickly have to say, oh, entertainment, and dive out of, getting too technical. And I said, well, no, I don't mind going a little bit further on the technical front. In fact, some of the people that make videos on YouTube they're really good at it, they would stop short of getting as technical as I wanted it to go. And that's actually what inspired me to say, well, no, I want to make what I want to watch. So I'm going to go a bit more technical with this. So, but I do hope that everybody feels welcome, if you're a programmer or not. That's my main goal. So,
Well, on that point, what got you started finding bugs in NES games?
well, I think sometimes I can't remember some of the specific bugs that I first got started with, but because it was almost like emulation these days is so amazing, with just how you can be playing a game in an emulator and go to the debugger and just boom, there's the code. And if you can read the code, yeah, I think the first time I opened the debugger and actually sat to look at the code, that was when I said, any game is a sandbox game when you can reprogram it. And so that's when I said, well, why don't I just start looking into some of this stuff? Why don't I just figure out why this thing happens there? Why is this game slow? Why does this graphics glitch happen? And then trying to zero in on it. And the first behind the code episode I think was Super Mario Brothers 2. I think was the one that I looked into. And I mean that one was pretty, I want to say it was pretty basic. I was looking, it's been a little while. I was looking into the timer for when you go into so if you're playing Mario 2 and you grab the potion, throw it, create a door, and you go through the door, and it turns into this inverse world that's everything's
That's
kind of a
great.
silhouette. And it plays the original theme from Super Mario Brothers, a new rendition of it. And I think it was probably already out there, the information that is, but I thought, is there more to that song? Because there's a certain timer and then it ends. And so I said, well, what if I just find the timer in RAM? And so I found the timer and said, all right, let's just set that to FF, just max it out and see what happens. And it plays the entire song from Super Mario Brothers 1. And I thought, well, what else could I do? And just kind of, started trying to figure it out from there. So, and I keep thinking back whenever I get really deep into the weeds and I'm dealing with level compression, that's when I kind of sarcastically say, how hard could it be? Like as I hit, day
Enter
8 or
Metroid.
whatever.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, which Metroid in particular, the level, or lack of level compression for that one. I mean, that may have also been out there, but when I was looking into that, so basically Metroid, instead of storing compressed level data, it builds all the objects on the fly. So it says, hey, here's a platform. And it goes, well, what makes up that platform? And it goes and looks up, oh, these 4 blocks. And it grabs those 4 blocks and puts them up. And this is, okay, next to that, there's this much larger piece. And it goes and it builds
Procedurally
that.
generated kind of thing.
And it just puts it all together. And then they have a room ID that says, hey, I want this layout. And then it goes and does all that. And then they said, well, when are we going to do that? And it said, well, we'll just, whenever you hit a room scene, we'll just load the entire next room, even if it takes 3 frames of video and the game stutters. And that was one of the things, when I saw that, where I said, what? Like I had no idea. And I almost hadn't even noticed it. And then once I saw that was how it loads, well, now I notice it every single time I'm playing Metroid. I'm
It's
like,
the
and
curse.
there it is. There it is. There it is, for the stuttering on the frame rate. So,
Cool.
yeah.
So, what is your favorite NES bug?
My goodness. Well, right now I'm working on Commando for the NES. So that's gonna be the next
Condolences.
episode.
Spoilers.
And and some of their, so Capcom contracted Micronics to make some of their early arcade games, port them to the NES platform, and that included 1942, Ghost and Goblins, which I covered a little bit, another Famicom game called Sun, I think it was, and then Capcom said, okay, thanks, and then they started working on their own thing, and they did Commando. And they didn't quite understand NES architecture at the time, and they put it out. But you'll notice there are a lot of jumps and graphical glitches in that one, and the reason is because when you're in between frames in an area called vertical blank, that's when you send all your graphical updates. And Capcom sometimes treated that like they had unlimited time. But they don't have unlimited time. The video signal you send to a TV is, I mean, it's like a piece of music. It's got a beat. It has to work. And they would go a little overtime. And so all these random glitches and jumps would start happening. And that's kind of the more recent thing that I'm plugged into. I think one of the things that I investigated was, and it's not really, I mean, it is somewhat of a glitch, but it's injecting code into Tetris using the high score table,
Right.
which that one took a really long time. But the idea of being able to just play a game and write code and then get it to execute that code, that was something that, I really found interesting. And so, well, what can I do with this? And that was I mean, that went down to having a notepad and a pen and sitting here and going, okay, what what hex values do I want to be able to enter, and how am I going to do this? And as that was spiraling out of control during development, I said, how on earth am I going to present this to people and keep it interesting? Um, Arbitrary coding injection, execution. And so that was wild. I'm just kind of reviewing some of the previous videos in my head, so sorry for kind of stuttering through it.
Fine.
Um, like the Monopoly AI, like for NES Monopoly, which I think is an kind of maybe an underrated version of Monopoly, because part of what makes Monopoly kind of, well, monotonous is having to go through all the, okay, roll the dice, land on the property. Are you going to buy it? Do you have to pay rent? All that sort of stuff. And they wrote that game to where you can play it at ludicrous speed, and that's one of the things that makes it easy to access. Whereas if you look at some of the later games, like as you start moving, I mean, later editions of Monopoly, as you move up through N64 and PlayStation, and some of the various computer versions as well, they thought, well, we can do a lot more visually now. Let's animate the pieces. And they add a lot of fluff, which as an idea sounds good, but in terms of the pacing of the game, really slows down a game that's already slow.
Mhm.
That was a bit of a tangent. But anyway, I wanted to know, they coded an AI, well, the old school version of the term AI. They coded an AI to determine when you try to make a trade, whether or not it will actually make the trade with you. And so going through that and finding, well, how does it value all the properties? Because it's not just, oh, in order from the beginning of the board all the way to Park Place and Boardwalk, a straight up order. They had to do some sort of ranking. And diving into that, like it took a long time to do, but I just found it absolutely fascinating. So I don't know if there are any videos that you guys watched that you want to ask any follow-up questions on for bugs, but Ron, what's up?
We do, but we'll
Save it.
We'll
Gotcha.
save
No problem.
That said, what's the kind of a double question here? What's the toughest bug you've run across yet to fix? Flip side, easiest to fix.
Toughest bug to fix.
Maybe the one that took the most time to figure out what the heck were they thinking, or
Yeah. So the things that I somewhat mentioned this before, but like anything that has to do with level compression is time consuming. Um while it wasn't, I don't know if it was necessarily a bug, but going through the boxers in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and I coded a Lua script to like spit out everything that's going on in addition to reversing the code, because of just the volume of code that's executed in a very short amount of time. I wanted it kind of spelled out in a window so I could kind of have an English debug of it, basically. That took a while. That was not actually really a bug. That was more of an investigation. Um, the Metroid frame rate that I mentioned, the getting into level building with that took a while. I think I mean, I'm kind of drawing a blank on some of the others, because one of the things about making these videos is that it kind of becomes that whenever you're in investigation mode and video creation mode, during that brief period of time, that one game is your life for in terms of what you're doing technically. And as soon as I'm done with that game, my brain basically just does a big purge of everything. So when, I mean, just now you were like, what is the toughest bug and the easiest? And I'm like, have I ever made any videos on YouTube? I'm not sure. That's about where my mind went in that instance. So you'd probably have to remind me or ask about specific videos.
Yeah,
And I say, oh yeah.
I'm thinking about the pendant bug in Fazanadu is
Oh
probably
yeah.
the good ones. It's just like, oh, they just said it wrong. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, yeah, that's a lot of people, and people debated that in the comments as well.
It's like,
saying, "Oh
but
no, it
I
was
looked at the
supposed to be
code.
there." Well, they were kind of like, "Oh, that was just programming." Programming's intention was that I forgot the name of the actual tower that you go into, but it's something similar to of deception or something like
Mhm.
that. And so they kind of the commenters would rationalize that, hey, you're not supposed to go in there. You're not supposed to get that bug, and you're not supposed to get that pennant.
Mhm.
But I mean, that was literally just like, oh, we kind of got that bit backwards, so to speak. So, um, but I mean, hey, on the subject of bits, the Super Mario Brothers 2 video, right? There's an animation cycle in there, and they're supposed to have 8 frames, but they only have 7. So that was something they have all the art resources in the ROM. It's just, oops, we animated this number of frames instead of that number of frames. Um, Sometimes even some of the graphics glitches are literally just, oh, you put a 1 here when there should have been a 0 there,
Off by
and
one error.
you just fix that value, then everything works.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
as programmers, sometimes forget. Oh, yeah, the computer starts counting at 0. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about how you hunt for bugs. Walk us through a typical hunting scenario.
So sometimes I go for the what I'll call the fun approach, which is basically I just put the game up. I put a separate memory window up, and fortunately the NES only has 2K of RAM, and I don't. That may have been the first time that sentence has been uttered, but and I show all of the RAM at once on the side of my monitor, and I will just start playing the game, and I have the values set in that where writes occur in red, and so I
Mm.
will play the game and I'll just kind of watch. It's kind of like
God.
the movie The Matrix, it's like I
Mhm.
don't even see the code.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
see,
Blonde,
like,
brunette,
yeah,
redhead. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
It's just kind of like, oh, hey, that must be the Y position and X position of the playable character. Here it is. And yeah, I'm jumping. Okay, yeah. And I'll start labeling RAM. And so and that's a very non-technical way. It's kind of guessing, but it's fun because it's a discovery. Oh, that's a timer. Oh, that's a velocity. I let off the D-pad and that value went back to 0. Oh, that must be input. That sort of approach. Non-scientific, but still lots of fun. Once you start labeling those values, then you can go into the debugger and start looking at code. And now instead of seeing, 0 page A6, you see exposition, player exposition or whatever I named it. And then that becomes easier to say, oh, okay, well now I kind of know what this area is doing using the labeled RAM values and then context clues.
Mhm.
The more programmer-y approach that I've taken lately has been to go into the non-maskable interrupt area and say, okay, where are the sprites coming from? Because whenever you move sprites to OEM in the PPU, you basically say, hey, which page am I moving? And it moves all 256 bytes. And so you'll say, oh, they're moving it from, the 200 block or something like that. And
Mm.
so I'll go into RAM and say, okay, from 200 to 2FF, make that, label that, sprite OEM RAM or whatever I like to call it. And I start doing inputs, where the input's going when it reads the controller. And I kind of take more of an NES architecture approach to
Mhm.
getting some of the stuff in place. So it's kind of a mood thing, to be honest.
Hmm.
So just kind of what I'm feeling at the time. And in fact, the NMI approach and going in and saying, well, where is it pulling the sprites from? That was when I went into Ghost and Goblins and said, wait a minute, you're allocating twice the amount of space for sprites, and then just it switches back and forth between 2 blocks at 256K. Sorry, I'm getting like pretty technical.
No, that's
Just
good.
going off. But anyway, yeah. So the point is though that like I will take different approaches, just kind of depending on mood. Am I looking for a quick fix for a very specific thing, and I'm going to watch RAM, or do I say, hey, I'm going to need to know a whole lot about this game. might as well start with some of the underhood NES architecture stuff and then
Mhm.
work my way into the game logic.
Mhm.
So yeah, multiple approaches.
I like
Absolutely.
it.
Well, to that point, let's talk a little bit about the tools that you use when you're hunting for these bugs or trying to figure out why something was done a certain way in a video. Um, do you have you ever found yourself trying to actually use some of the old school kind of NES development tools, or is it just easier to rely on a modern emulation with debuggers and breakpoints? I mean, do you disassemble everything manually like a madman, or do you allow the modern tools to kind of maybe pick up some of the slack on that?
The modern tools for the NES in particular are excellent. And on that note, if you try to move into debugging a Sega Genesis Mega Drive game, crickets, like in terms of most of the emulation out there.
Mhm.
Uh Completely different topic. But I started with FCEUX, which is a good emulator. And I actually had people in my comments when I started putting out behind the code videos, have you ever tried Messin? And I started using that one. And that emulator uh, does just about everything you could want. And it's still under development. All of us keep tabs open, right? In our web browsers, just all the time. I have tons of tabs. One of the tabs I have open is the GitHub page for Messin and like anything. And I'm always hitting refresh and reading like, what's he been up to? Like what have they been up to? What's new? But I'm still using, I think it's like 0.99 or whatever it is, because I don't want to, I understand software. I understand like writing new features and saying oops and then having to fix something. And so I never want to break that in the middle of when I'm doing some of my research. But if you use that emulator, you have the ability to, you can view RAM, you can use the debugger and view code. You can set breakpoints, you can step through the code, you can do a watch window, you can look at all the graphics that the PPU can currently see.
Mhm.
You can enable or disable sound channels. It's very into the weeds of into how all of it works. Or you could load it up and play a game. You could just do that if you want to. So, but I do like being able to see all of that information and use it as best I can. I feel like I'm even still discovering new stuff that I never, would click on that particular option. And then I would say, oh, yeah, I actually see what that does now. Lua scripting, heck, being able to like write a script and like attach to something in RAM and say, all right, whenever this happens, I want this, I want to do this. I want to write it to the console, or I want to make a change to RAM.
Cool.
It's pretty powerful. So, but those are the main tools that I use, is like just modern software emulation, because it is much faster, of course, than using some of the older stuff. Now that being said, I wouldn't mind having physical old systems that were used to develop NES games and being able to mess with them at some time. But of course, you have to maintain old computers, as many of you know. And so maintaining that as well as using them for something, it's, that's certainly two jobs at once, right? Maintain your system and then use it to develop a game.
Mhm.
So I stick pretty much with the emulators on the front of, hey, I'm trying to make a YouTube video and I kind of need that kind of modern convenience.
Sure.
So
Cool. That said, you've run a lot of against all these different bugs or weird issues, or how can we say, choice programming decisions by developers over the years. If you worked as a programmer for a company that produced games back in the day, what kind of advice would you give the play testers to improve the player experience?
However, the company would have feedback set up between the play testers and the programmers, because sometimes, and this comes from me like working in the business software industry, sometimes stuff is lost in terms of the train of communication, where it gets boiled down to, hey, just do this. Or somebody submits hey, this isn't quite working right, or this could be better, and somebody in between says, nah, that's not important, and they don't prioritize it. Um, I would say, with that out of the way, if they had direct connection to the yeah, more of a direct connection to the programmers, I would say play control is the most important thing. And if you don't have good physics that match player input, then you've got a problem. And I mean that's even if you aren't running at a full 60 FPS. Because you could have a game that's, I mean, Ghosts and Goblins runs at, what was it, 20 FPS or something like that. And
If
I mean,
on a good day.
yeah, it's serviceable.
20-ish.
But and so it, and of course, if you have that, it's you're also not able to, sorry, I'm like structuring input and graphical updates, because however often you're updating the screen, you're going to have to get input and say, okay, well, what are we going to do next? What are we going to show next? And if somebody has input and they have to wait 3 frames to see a result versus 1 frame to see a result, I mean, it's huge.
You
And
can feel
when
it.
I was looking, you can, and at this, but at the same time, if you're able to do 60 FPS, but your physics aren't right to match the what people are hitting and what they're trying to see on screen, then it break. I mean, like Action 52, looking into Action 52 was kind of mind blowing. And it's very, the physics in that were very linear, kind of like, oh, I just want to just keep subtracting like 1 pixel, then adding 1 pixel, in
Mhm.
order to jump. I don't remember the exact pixel count. But I actually have heard from the programmer of Action 52, and like his job was really hard. Uh, and
Yeah.
but trying to put together basically that synergy between player input, the physics that you want to see, and graphical response. I know that's like 3 different things, but
Mhm.
it's so important. It doesn't matter like how good your graphics are, how good your music is. That's all icing on the cake. If you don't have good physics and player input and response, it doesn't matter, because
Mhm.
people are going to get frustrated and turn it off. So I would say have some sort of uh going back to your question about play testing, I would say like um have some sort of way to determine, well, what how quickly do we want this to respond, where do we want it to go, and then
Mhm.
tell people, like, you can be very you can even just say jumping doesn't feel right, you know
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
like that's not a specific, like, oh, hey, this is broken, hey, I tried to pick up this object and it didn't pick up.
Mhm.
That's really
Yeah.
good testing.
Yeah.
But saying like jumping feels off, or like acceleration into a run feels off, that's very subjective feedback from
Yeah.
people. But that's enough for a programmer to say, okay, all right, and like maybe they start making changes to velocity. Very easy thing to say, and very easy thing, at least in my opinion, to understand and make a
Mhm.
change.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
of course, with deadlines being what they
mhm.
are, people that run the show will probably say, does the character move? Yeah, okay, good, because we have a
That's
lot
good.
of other stuff to get to,
Yeah.
Good enough.
uh so
Well, it's one of those things where it's like it's like, okay, the jumping right now is like Action 52 jumping. And so they're like, we'll work on it. And they come back and now it's like jumping in the Terminator jumping.
yeah.
It's like, well, it's an improvement, but uh,
Right, yeah. Yeah, Terminator definitely seems like the jumping on that was based more on an animation sequence than it was actual like timing of physics.
mhm,
The wind up for something. I mean, heck, like swinging a sword, like you do in Turtles, or something like that, or any weapon really. How much frame time are you going to give reaching back before you actually
yes.
connect with someone?
Mhm.
And Turtles runs at 30 FPS. So it's not gonna, you don't have time for it to immediately go out as fast as you would at 60 FPS.
Right.
So
Hmm.
I've watched those videos.
I mean, jumping in Turtles, right? They said, well, what are
Mhm.
we going to use for gravity? And then they said, well, why don't we just combine 2 different jumps with different velocities and like
Yeah.
shift gears halfway up? It's
Okay. All right. So we've got some good feedback on this, but I think we're just going to go with the moon, but somehow more floaty.
Yeah, somehow more floaty is right.
Somehow more floaty.
So my next question is a little bit something I like a lot more. Hardware. So I've noticed you mentioned electronic repairs on your social media. Are you getting more into that now? And will we maybe see some future content from you on that subject?
So for electronics repairs, I mean, perhaps I should amend that a bit because I feel like that was some of the earlier parts of the channel. Because when I
Mhm.
first, I mean, the channel's been through various iterations. The reason it's called Displaced Gamers is because I started just doing kind of like a, a video podcast with my friend Ginger, and then I said to her, "Hey, would you mind if I kind of made this technical?" And I started talking about aspect ratios, and it got into video, like explaining things like Luma and that sort of thing. And so I suppose that while I am interested and I still do electronics repairs from time to time, I haven't had it on my channel in quite a while. But I did see your MSX that you had earlier, and that one actually, the Sony, there it is. So I actually had to do some work on one of those for a friend of mine. So the capacitors on the video board tend to leak.
Yeah.
So now, to be fair though, like I admire all the people that not only do electronics repairs, but also manage to do them on camera with multi-camera setup and lighting and edit together a video. Yeah, like I mean it's not, I mean,
Not
I once
easy.
made it. I once made a video. This was not about electronics repairs, but it was about 10 minutes long. And the person and one commenter said, "Thanks for taking 10 minutes of your time to make this video." And it's like, well, it didn't take 10 minutes. It actually took much longer. It took days,
Yeah.
but at the end it's 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
so, and as you guys know, like if you're doing, you need to know what you're doing before you go in. You have to set up your camera, you have to set up your lighting,
Yeah.
you have to make sure you have all your tools ready to go. I mean, it's a lot of work. And at the moment, I don't really have a bench set up that is equipped for doing that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
But I also feel like behind the code at the moment, it's hard to believe I've been running with it for 5 years. But that series is what like somehow the YouTube algorithm said, ooh, and that's where like most of my audience came from. So that's kind of where I've been stuck. And I do use that word stuck in a while because I do love doing behind the code, but feeling like branching away from it now makes me feel like a lot of people would say, well, what are you doing? You're the behind the code guy, so perhaps I should amend my
Second channel,
bios.
maybe just for the other
Oh,
content. Or-
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true, it's possible. So but I do love tinkering with all kinds of, I mean, so like right behind me there's an Apple II GS, there's an
Mhm.
Atari 800, Commodore 1702 monitor. I have a PC down there,
Nice.
Famicom keyboard and basic. Like, I mean, all within reach of where I'm sitting right now. So I definitely have interest in all of the retro hardware and working on it and changing it. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's just it hasn't appeared on my channel in a while. So apologies for that. But
So,
yeah.
so when people, because we've kind of talked about a little bit of snippets from different videos and stuff you've worked on, and talk about your channel and other things you might also additionally do. But when people ask you, they're like, I got a friend who I want to introduce to your channel because I know they're a programmer, they're like a console kid from like the 80s. I know that they would love your channel, but what video do you recommend to
Oh
people
goodness.
when you're here's the thing to get you hooked?
So in terms of relating it to behind the code, I feel like the sampler video that I did before that, which is more of like a gateway into showing some of the differences, I would say perhaps something like that, because that is something that doesn't actually get into the code yet and mostly just says, hey, there are different versions of this game that came out on cartridge, or hey, these items on Streets of Rage, the characters on the screen that are standing, on top of one another, they're actually graphics behind there. And if they find that sort of thing fascinating, then they can go further in and say, okay, well, let me get into the weeds a bit and like how the sausage is made, so to speak. So that's one of the reasons why I don't even know if I think I put behind the code in the title of that one, but that was before I actually started a series called Behind the Code. So if not that, if you want to just say, hey, here's one behind the code episode, usually anything that has to do with Super Mario Brothers is really big. Like you make a video about Mario and it's like it immediately gets so many more, I mean, well, to
Yeah.
be honest,
Hmm.
views as soon as it goes out. But also, I mean, it's a game that so many people have experienced playing and
Hmm.
enjoyed. It's a very good baseline
Yeah.
thing. And so um that I would say perhaps something like that. The Warp Zone video of Super Mario Brothers might be
Hmm.
kind of the minus world.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah.
like Glitch would probably be the one I would recommend. So
Okay.
Cool.
yeah.
When you're creating for YouTube, you have tools and processes and things that you use. You mind commenting a little bit about that, like the software that you use, magic in making thumbnails that work, ways to gain viewership? Or has it all just been a thanks YouTube's random algorithm for doing whatever you do?
So I would say that when it comes to YouTube, the title and the thumbnail are the most important thing. Because you can have the best content in the world, but if you don't focus on those two things, like you won't get views. And so I've made some thumbnails. I've scheduled a video to go out. This was years ago. I scheduled a video to go out and I'd say, all right, 8 a.m. on a Friday, that's when I want it to go out.
Hmm.
And it's 4 a.m. on Friday, and I still haven't made the thumbnail. And so then I go, oh. And I did that once for a video, and it
Hmm.
was, I mean, the response was terrible because it was just, you could tell it was a thumbnail. I think it was Take Zelda Outside. And I was talking about from Link to the Past. And I basically that was one of the things in there. And I think I had just like a solid black with like one character and like a question mark or something like that. Just mailed it in. Um, and so then I started saying, well, I need to focus on the thumbnail more. In fact, I need to come up with a thumbnail before I finish working on the video. So I have time to change my mind about it and that sort of thing. I have changed thumbnails after a video has come out, but it's better to have it ready to go and have everything set up and do your curation, get your description set because there there's so you put so much time and effort into creating the video, but for other people to see it, in order for it to get recommended, in order for people to say, "Hey, what's that?" and stop just for a second and click on it, you have to have a good thumbnail.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that. I would also say networking. If you start to create content, let your content speak for itself, but like get to know other people that kind of do things that are similar to you. And then things will unfold. I mean, heck, I'm a big fan of Adrian's Digital Basement, right?
Yeah.
Many people are.
Hmm.
And one way or another, that I think it led to me watching Mac 84. And then from there, like Ron, like your stuff came up, and then
Yeah.
Action Retro came up, and then Taylor and Amy. And it's just kind of it like all of you just start connecting
Hmm.
to each other, and you
Yeah.
suddenly find this network. So like a few years ago, I could almost tell you like, hey, here's the order that I discovered all of your channels,
Yeah.
and then oh surprise, like you all know each other,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. So and I mean, hey, for me, I started creating videos and Retro RGB. Bob from Retro RGB,
Yes.
started
Hmm.
promoting my stuff,
Yeah.
and I ran into him at a show, and I stopped him and said, "Hey," and I had to, introduce myself. He goes, "Oh yeah, hey, yeah," and that sort of thing. I mean, it's great. You go to these shows and you meet people that are interested in the same stuff you do, and you create content.
Uh-huh.
And I had never seen what's Ken making. I hadn't seen his stuff before. I met him at a show, and he said, "Hey, like what?" He said, "So I have this channel that does this," and I said, "Yeah, I have this channel that does that." And then like this was the first night, the first day that we were there. So everybody goes back to their hotel room, stays, wakes up the next day, and I'd gone back to my room and watched some of his content. And he'd gone back to his room and watched some of my content. And the next day it was like the Spider-Man meme where we're like, "Ooh, like like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I've seen your stuff before,
Yeah.
that kind of and so it's hard to come out of, I mean, to start with no subscribers, no content. You have to let your content speak for yourself. But
Mhm.
like definitely make something that you enjoy. And also to be honest, I would say try to make stuff other people aren't quite making yet, if possible.
Mhm.
I mean, a little bit of a tangent, but I do feel like we are currently in an era of imitation and instead of creation.
Yeah.
And that goes for YouTube, that goes for movies, TV shows, a lot of it. So like try to do something, that'll make you stand out a little bit. So
Yep.
more tangents on YouTube topics and things in general, but those are my thoughts.
Awesome.
So
Well, you mentioned some, so it kind of, I hate it. It kills this joke a little bit, but what video was the one that you feel was your runaway success, and why is it always Super Mario 3 related content? Why is that? The kids and, and the plumbers and the turtles and the mushrooms.
So on the Super Mario, so I did a video in 2025 that was talking about the different revisions of Super Mario Brothers 3 that are on cartridge, and it goes back to thumbnails. So I did two for the thumbnail. I have both cartridge versions, and technically the front label isn't really going to indicate which version you have. But I took photos of both of them, and I put an arrow between them, and I said not the same. And that is clickbait. That is 100% clickbait. But if you create content that delivers, then it doesn't matter. And sure enough, like that's kind of a, hey, here's a Mario thing, and here's something else to make people say, what? And then want to click on it. And that's immediately just went up to, I guess, my, like in a month, I think it had already exceeded any other video I made. Once again, the whole Mario magic. I guess it was.
Thank you, Mother Nintendo.
Yeah. So I don't know if it would be any different if I were to dive into like a Pokemon game at some point. But
I can only imagine what the regional differences are on those. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out that all the nurses in the North American releases wear underwear. It's weird. just cultural differences. Just cultural differences.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on back to not that. I'm here.
No, let's go to the questions, isn't it? Oh no, sorry, it's me.
Scroll down.
Sorry. You got a nice collection of games.
He's had a little tequila tonight, folks. It's fine.
We won't tell anyone.
You got a nice collection of games for consoles, but you also have a very nice big box PC game collection. What are some of your favorites?
Well, I met Lori and Corey Cole, who did the Quest for Glory series in Sierra, and I had them sign my Quest for Glory box, actually Heroes Quest box. So I'm particularly happy about that. The Secret of Monkey Island is probably my favorite game of all time for the PC. And that was one of the funny thing is I had never played that game. This was 1993. I hadn't played it yet, and I bought a Creative Labs giant CD-ROM box at the time, and that was the first time it was a single speed CD-ROM, and it came with The Secret of Monkey Island,
nice.
and among other games. And so I said, what's this? I just put it in and started playing it. And that was one of those, like, I don't know if everybody has had this experience, but like for a certain period at a young age, like it doesn't, or a current age, you think you'll play a game and you'll go on and you'll do other things in life, like, I don't know, eat, sleep, work, school, but you're always thinking about, when am I going to have time to sit down and like pick up where I left off? And especially for something like an adventure game, that was definitely one of them that I said, hey, I can't stop thinking about the last puzzle I did. So, but because it came with the CD-ROM, I mean, with drive that I bought, I
Yeah,
didn't
we
have
have
a
a
big box game.
yeah.
It was just one of those included pack. All right, so here it is. So it came in a
Yeah.
cardboard sleeve,
Yep.
actually, and I cut the cardboard sleeve and like just put it inside a jewel case so I could
Mhm.
keep it somewhere. And then years later, I said, hey, I got to get a big box game of this. So I'm pretty happy about that one. I could probably talk about big box games for a dumb amount of time, to be honest.
I'm going to beg you. I want you to come back and we will talk about that. I want to interview you and talk about that. So we will get to the big box collecting stuff for
Hey,
sure.
it's Mac 84.
Yep.
It's Spleeve. Hi, Spleeve.
Hey,
Joe, I'm going to tee you up. Here. We always have a little funny question for the guest. This week it's Joe.
So, this is a very important question because this happens to me, and I need to make sure I'm not insane. I need to know if it happens to other people.
Well, that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little weird. Do you ever dream in 6502?
I have not dreamed in 6502, but I have like gently rocked myself to sleep thinking about programming 6502.
Close enough.
Yeah. So I'm sure anybody can relate to that too. Like if you have a technical mind and you love processing, any kind of problem solving, writing code, it could be especially difficult to fall asleep because you're constantly working on the next thing in your head. But I've not managed to cross over into the dream world of 6502. But maybe, speaking of teeing up, perhaps I've been teed up to do that this very night.
Oh,
We'll
no.
find out.
I've infected you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, make sure to eat like 3 slices of pizza and then have like some ice cream and then like maybe a fillet of fish or something, whatever, because like whatever people were like, oh, I ate weird food and it gave me weird dreams. So you'll be the person that cracks the code on something after that.
Oh goodness! If I ate all that, I probably wouldn't wake up. Somebody would ask, "What do you think the last thing that went through his mind was?" And you guys would be like, 6502.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right. This is the segment where we do some questions from our viewers at home. Let's go ahead and we'll go to the top. And hosts, we'll just take turns reading some of these, but I will start us out. Gupom asks, what was the best NES game and why is it Kabuki Quantum Fighter?
Oh goodness, the best NES game, that's so subjective. I mean, so I enjoyed, like I said earlier, the Guardian Legend. I have played
Mhm.
Kabuki Quantum Fighter.
Yeah.
Going back, you were asking me about people that, like, whenever somebody's testing a game, like the feedback they would give, and I would say play control, and I would say any game that can help synergize play control with the actions that you see on screen. And I, like, way back, I used to do these videos that were really short, and I talked about throwing the metal blade in Mega Man 2
Mhm.
because you can throw it in 8 directions. But I have trouble picking the best NES game. Certainly, I hope most people having trouble picking the best for any given platform.
Mhm.
But I would say that Gut Bomb Tech wants me to pick Kabuki Quantum Fighter as the best NES game. And since they asked the question, I will say, well, it's Kabuki Quantum Fighter, of course.
Well, I know he appreciates that for sure. Joe.
Ian has a question here. Ian, of course, of Pico Gus fame. We love Ian. Many of your videos have very complex overlays showing the timing and states of the NES. How much of that comes from the emulator, and how much do you do yourself?
So a large percentage of it is actually Photoshop. And so that's why it takes so long to crank out some of the videos. For instance, and this is a combination of the two that you mentioned, the event viewer in the emulator can show boxes for you can illustrate your breakpoints. And so whenever you hit this, just show it on the event viewer and it shows up as a little box. And in some of the videos, like in, for instance, Ghost and Goblins, I show like, here's when it executes this particular code. Here's when it executes that. And I use different color boxes. Well, in the emulator, it only has one color for all the boxes. So in order to do, here are these red boxes that represent, player physics. Here are these boxes that represent moving graphics, and they're different colors. That comes from running the same exact frame from a save state, manually changing the palette, doing screenshots, and then cutting out all the boxes and then pasting them together. So that gives you kind of an example of like what it takes in order to put it together. But I do think that it is worth the time if it makes it easier to understand. And that's kind of what keeps me going on creating that sort of thing. So if and sometimes I've gone through the trouble of creating something like a complex overlay, just like you mentioned, and I hit play and I sit back and I say, this makes no sense whatsoever, and have to kind of go back to the drawing board on it. So because I don't want to put out something that confuses people.
Yeah.
And so, but it very much is a combination.
So if anybody out there is wondering why there's not a video every 7 days, this man takes the time to do the quality work that is required to
Yes.
make the video good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree.
Go ahead, Javier.
Okay, from our friend Gutbomb.
Again,
Jesus. There's a lot of janky TurboGrafx games. Have you explored this platform at all?
I really love the TurboGrafx and by extension the PC Engine. I think if you are a TurboGrafx fan, you have to look into the PC Engine, which is what it was called in Japan.
Yeah.
I have not looked into, I think, any of the code specifically on those, but I do love the platform, and I wouldn't be opposed to looking into it. I have had a lot of people ask me like, well, what about like venturing off the NES? What about Super Nintendo? What about TurboGrafx? And I'm not opposed to it, but I feel like I'm really like the ball is really rolling on NES work right now, and to shift platforms, even if the architecture of the CPU is the same, there are many other things that are not. And so I've just kind of been running in the NES hamster wheel for a long time. So, but what I mean, I guess, and Gutbomb, you can send me a message separately if you want, but I'm interested in what janky TurboGrafx games you were referring to. So,
Well, we'll do another gut bomb one here because I love this one because this one like absolutely I understand this one. So gut bomb asks, can you please fix Ripple for me? Thanks.
did you happen to watch the episode where I did?
Mhm.
Ooh.
So that's kind of a bit of a, I guess, a tee up, but I actually put my voice into the game saying double dribble in one of the audio episodes, so that was a lot of fun.
Follow-up question: do you do voiceover work because your voice is velvety?
Oh, thank you. No, I haven't done any voiceover work.
Additional question: I sell lots of PBXs and could use voiceover work for auto attendance. Call me. So, everything is Broken Garage. Our friend Ryan from way out in the cold hinterlands of Newfoundland asks, have you ever gotten any DMCA takedowns on any of your videos?
No, I have not.
That's good.
I hope that doesn't mean that you're like, watch me be the first. No, I'm just kidding. So in terms of, so DMCA, a lot of that is, I mean, really like any music that you use, you have to be very careful. I use, I don't really use chip tunes that often. I use I guess two main. If you watch the videos, you'll notice that I have the kind of the same music. So in all my videos, and I've talked to the people responsible for that music, and we've kind of said, hey, we're good. So I would recommend that. Oh,
Is- Yep.
Let me adjust my question. Nintendo is too litigious. Have you ever got into a copyright strike or
Yeah,
take?
that's Ryan was kind of
Sorry.
like maybe amending his question a little bit.
no, I haven't actually. So
Well, that's
hopefully,
good.
I mean, it stays that way. But
All right. So here we go. Javier.
Oh, sorry. Have you made code changes to your emulation tools to help make your work easier?
So most of the emulation tools that I use are built in. I haven't contributed any work to the actual emulator itself. I do have a few templates when I do Lua scripting that I will bring in and kind of just do the good old copy paste modify on in order to adapt to the latest game that I'm working on. But that's kind of the extent of it, I would say.
Cool.
Great.
Cool.
All right. One last one from Gut Bomb. Do you watch speedrunning? Mike Tyson's Punch Out is such an optimized speedrun. Do you have any examples of examining games the way that you do to kind of help find more ways to optimize speedruns?
I do watch a little bit of speed running, not as much now as I used to, but Sinister One is one guy that does Mike Tyson's Punch Out as well as Zallard. I actually talked a little bit with Zallard, with Sinister One about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, because they were working on that. I mean, it's really strange too, because I'll watch these speedrunners and like I don't write any comments in it, and then suddenly one day I'll get an email from them and they'll say, hey, I really like your stuff, and I'm sitting here going like, I really love your skills, so that's always a fun connection to make. Any examples of examining games the way possibly I'm kind of blanking on a little bit, but we've certainly shared a lot between us, like various speedrunners. Whenever but a lot of these games are really, they've been working on them for years, and they really haven't to stuff down to being frame perfect. And so, it would have to be like a niche game usually that I look into. But I have not directly, with the exception of looking into Rescue Rangers for a little bit. I don't think I've done like any, hey, let me just jump into a game and look to try to optimize a speed run. But I do love speed running, and I mean I hope some of the stuff that I've made can help contribute to that in some way. And I do keep all the tools that I write, in case anybody needs any information. So I should do a better job on my GitHub of uploading some of the stuff too. So
Great.
Awesome.
Very last question. Where can people find you online?
Yep.
you can check me out, of course, on YouTube at Displaced Gamers, on X as well, and Blue Sky. I do tend to do more about, I guess, console stuff on X and more about computer stuff on Blue Sky. And I mean that's pretty much where you would find me. So please please drop by YouTube and watch some videos if you're feeling the technical bug biting. So
tell your friends, subscribe, please. This guy is awesome. Do it. Joe says so.
Mm-hmm.
Joe says so.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping by tonight. It's been super fun to get to speak to you about you and your craft and your channel this evening. And I wanted to make sure that I give you a heartfelt thank you. It's just I'm fangirling. I'm sorry. So this is the point in our show where we go into what's going on in our little world. So you are free to hang out with us. It's usually about half hour. Or if you got to run, you can run too, but we want to give you that option.
Yeah.
So what's going on in everybody's worlds? I'm going to go ahead and just start myself.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe. You know me. I just want to say that Blue Scuzzy Ultra just dropped yesterday. If you're not aware of that, check that out. The Blue Scuzzy team, Eric, Androda, and all of the resellers have been working really, really hard in collaboration with our friend Gutbomb in the chat and with our friend Ian in the chat as well to work on this new iteration of Blue Scuzzy to make it the bomb. We have the Ultra series now, basically for the higher speeds, better throughputs. It'll be available in 50-pin narrow. It'll be available in the 68-pin and 80 SCA connector wide versions. We have CD audio support now, which has been backported to V2, which will be available relatively soon. There they are. Thank you, Ron. So that's going to be cool. And we've collaborated with Polpo on integrating the capabilities of his Pico IDE front panel, which hasn't been released yet, but will be released soon, into the code base of Blue Scuzzy. So we're even going to be backporting it to V2. So you can get the front panel and get all the cool front panel controls over the I2C connector in all of the Blue Scuzzy products. So that is going to be super duper awesome. They've been working really hard behind the scenes for that. I've been watching the Discord chat of them, and it's just been rapid fire. No, make this change. We got to tweak this by 1 millimeter. This code slightly this and that to make this come together. So it's been super fun to watch that. We expect units to start shipping in the next couple of months or so. We've got a few little last minute tweaks to make it perfect before it goes out the door. But if you want to buy one now and get in the pre-sale, you can do that. You go to bluescuzzy.com, pick your favorite reseller, whether it's Drake or Tom or Eric or me, any of them, and you can pick one of those up. I do want to give Ian a shout out. If you haven't heard of Ian Polpo, the Pico Gus guy, whatever you want to call him by. If you haven't heard of the Pico IDE project, go to Pico IDE. I think it's picoide.com. Is that what it is? Yep. Let me make sure it's picoide.com. Yes. That's going to be basically the Blue Scuzzy of IDE. He's been doing lots of work on his vacation time over the holidays. Oh my gosh. Like just yesterday, he fixed like 10 bugs in 5 different systems, and then did a refactor and made the thing 80% faster. It's going to be super awesome. It's going to be the way to do IDE, ATA, ETAPI stuff on your old computers. No more of these hoping you got a CD-ROM drive that works. No more of these compact flash adapters, and no more of this paying $200 for some custom FPGA garbage. No, fully open source, fully open code, super inexpensive, make the thing happen, right? That's going to be coming out pretty soon via his crowd supply campaign in the next, I don't know, couple months or so. A lot of behind the scenes works he's doing on that. One of the big time consumers, honestly, is he's having the cases injection molded, not 3D printed. He's having them injection molded. It's with silicone buttons and stuff. It's going to be just the bomb. So keep an eye out for that. There's their website. I already said it. Everything is Broken Garage. It's picoide.com. After crowd supply, there are going to be other vendors who will be selling these long term, including me and some others worldwide. So you're going to be able to get it. It's going to be a thing. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Other things in Joe's world. 2 other real quick things. 1, I have some magic things happening for the Apple II GS. If you like your Apple II GS and you would like it to be to have more longevity, watch out. It's coming. Nobody has done this yet. It's going to be awesome. Yes. I would love to make a clone of that, Javier. I'm not going to be making a clone of that, though. It's going to be something even cooler and more useful than that. No, I'm not going to tell you what, because I don't want somebody else to steal my idea.
Nice.
I like my Apple TGS. Tell me more. I like your Apple TGS, dude. Check 68K. I like all Apple TGSs, and we're going to make them better. I promise. This is a thing that the Apple TGS has sorely needed for the past 15 years, and we're going to solve a problem. It's going to be awesome.
I want one.
You want one? Oh, Javier, you're going to be one of my beta testers.
Oh, you're gonna get one, Javier.
Yeah.
And then finally, the other Joe World thing. You know me, that I have this weird passion about these funky titler systems for cable television systems called the SpectraGen. I hope to this year in 2026 to get all of the reverse engineering done on that and have a code suite done so you can do backups and data updates and all of the serial channel stuff and all of that done, at least as so far as we're capable of based on the hardware we physically have and can reverse engineer. There's so much hardware out there that just is not around, that doesn't exist. That is, you can't reverse it because there's not a thing there. But I hope to have that code suite done this year. Remains to be seen. Obviously, I'm kind of a busy dude. But that's kind of my passion project in the background. If there's anybody out there that knows Z80 code and wants a really, really fun thing to work with me on, hit me up, because I need a little bit of extra help figuring out some of the weird math and like what's the Z80? The Z80 has a relocatable stack pointer, so you can set up stacks for different threads. And like my 6502 brain is like one stack, and moving the stack around and trying to brain doesn't work. So if you want to help me out with that would be great. Hopefully once we get that done, then we can, I don't know, make a core or make an emulation set for it for what's the emulator, the big emulator, MAME. Make a MAME core for it so that
would be cool.
You can have that. That'd be cool. The thing is it's 100% off the shelf parts. There's no, aside from a couple of like Mapper Gal PAL chips, it's all off the shelf parts. So slinging this together in MAME for somebody who knows how to do such a thing would probably be easy. It'd be like, here's the code, here's the memory layout, make go. So yeah, so that's what's going on in Joe Land. Who's next? I'm going to pitch a ball over to Javier.
All righty then. Well, I've been also a little bit busy boy this Christmas season, and I've been trying to get this bad boy. You guys know it. It's this emulator that I have. It's an R32S, but it's modified so it works with Apple II. So the issue is that every time I order more from China, they come with new code. And I cannot use the code that I had done for this one, so I have to go in, and so it's been delays because of that. Just to let people know that I have issues with this little thing. So until I fix it, it's going to be a little bit of delays for people that want to buy the emulator. But and then I got this new thing that I'm showing tonight. Is the premiere of this thing.
Ooh, let's make Javier big here. Let's do that. How do we do that? That's the button.
So this is the beautiful Amiga Power. This is my new product. And basically it's the same thing that we have for the Apple II. It's USB-C with a little switch and a connector for Amiga. And of course the 8-bit stuff, 3 big displays that when you turn it on, it will show you the 5 volts, 12 volts, and minus 12 volts that an Amiga needs. And of course, it's a replacement for the power supply. And, I love LEDs. And I've been testing it lately with my Amiga 600. And I'm going to be ready to send a few beta testing devices for people that use Amiga computers. Maybe Amiga Bob.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this is the new little thing. It's cool. It has its own switch because remember, some Amigas don't have a power switch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think this is also pretty cool.
I like it.
So
nifty.
That's the new two things that I have.
Cool.
Oh, cool. Run.
Yes.
Ron has the news, by the way.
Well, I'm trying to find what I did with it. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I will kill some time here by saying I hope that everybody had a wonderful whatever it is that your family celebrates, and that we're glad to see everybody back here in time for 20. Oh, now I know why it didn't work. In time for us to all be back doing new episodes. Sorry, it's that stupid web PM thing. It's like, I get it. You love compression. It's not rocket science, but it does make it really tough if you're trying to share a screenshot here in StreamYard. So okay, so I've got the proper screenshot. Okay, so there's a thing that happened, and it's this thing, which is a video that I put out like a week ago, a little over a week ago, which took a lot of research and stuff. This is maybe the big thing I've got going on right now, which I would invite everybody to go and to check it out. There's the URL. Sorry, Chris. We'll dig you out here in just a second. It should be disappearing any second now. But basically, I did a bunch of research. Everybody knows about that scene in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, where they go to the plastics company because they're wanting to get some plexiglass from them, and they don't have any money, but instead they have knowledge. So they share the formula for transparent aluminum with the manager of the plant in exchange for some stuff, so they can build a little tank, so they can take some whales back to the future and all of that. Sorry, I just spoiled the end of Star Trek 4, but you've had like 40 years to watch it. So in any case, people have kind of speculated for a long time how the effect was done. And I was able to talk to Kirk Thatcher, Michael Okuda. I was also able to talk to some former employees of Video Image, and then talk to the person that actually sort of supervised the creation of the special effect that we see on screen. So we now have a definitive version of how that special effect was created. And the video's been doing really well. I want to thank, if you've watched it, I want to thank you for spending, I think it's maybe only 15 minutes long. So spending 15 minutes learning a little bit more about Star Trek. And to anybody that hasn't watched it, because they don't really necessarily know if this is something they're interested in, YouTube does not care as long as the window is at least 25% of your screen, set at 50% volume, that has no windows in front of it. Just watch it at 4x and learn a little bit about Macintosh and Star Trek. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. As a Star Trek fan, Ron, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work you did on that. That has been one of my biggest favorite nerd things about that movie since I have been alive.
Mm-hmm.
And now that 40 years later, I have an answer to that. Oh my God, you're my best friend today.
Don't worry, people will still continue. I put the video out, and like 3 days later, in one of the Macintosh groups, somebody asked again, what software is this on the machine? And it's like, oh, it's not. So it's not software on the machine. So,
but now we can always forever and ever and ever point everyone everywhere to, here it is. This is the answer to your question.
Yes, this is how it was done from the people that were physically there, and then did the effect. So that's it for me. Chris, do you have anything amazing happening?
Well, just kind of following up on what you just did. I mean, I think the next big step, Ron, would be to make sure that your video ends up on the next like Ultra HD release of Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Definitely.
That would be super great. It's I mean, if we ever get back to a point where these companies are putting media out like that, that would be really, really great. I just would love Star Trek fans to get to see it and learn a little bit more about it, and maybe get interested in kind of how movies are made, because I think that is such an amazing topic of just like something as simple as just, you know, like there's a prop on a desk. Like, how did they make this all come together? It's another thing that's always kind of interested me is in I think it came out like in 2009 or 2008, the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie. There is a it isn't real. It is a mocked up version of it, but they have a Tempest hardened SE30 on the desk of one of the people in the movie. And it's like, it doesn't really look like anything like a Tempest hardened Macintosh of that era, but I think that is going to be, spoilers, I think that's going to be the next thing that I'm going to try to investigate and see if we can figure out exactly how this was made and how the prop all came about. So
awesome. Cool. Chris, do you want to drop any spoilers for what's coming up next in your pipeline?
Aside from Commando, it's pretty wide open. So I have a few ideas I always kick around, but you know, this might open up the floodgates. I don't know, but if anybody wants to send a suggestion, I do read it. I may not respond, but like I've had people send me messages and I've said, "Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna do that one next."
Mhm.
And so if you have any ideas, yeah, I'm open.
Do it to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Chris, it has been, as I said, both an honor and a pleasure to speak with you this evening. Thank you for being on our show this evening. Yeah, that's it. Let's run around the thing and say our goodbyes. Hi, I'm Joe of Joe's Computer Museum. You may know me from such videos as Joe's Computer Museum or something. I don't know. You can always catch me at my website, jcm-1.com, where I'm doing the Blue Scuzzy thing and Pico Gusses and all of that stuff. But also, if you want to follow me on social media, all my links and all that stuff are there to see what I'm either working on or, complaining about and yelling into the void on the internet. So, yeah. Javier.
I am Javier Habmaster at YouTube and, of course, 8-Bit Tees, best t-shirts in the world, and 8-Bit Stuff, best hardware in the world. So go and see what I got.
If you say so, Javier, but
at least in my world.
No, you do. Javier does great stuff. The power adapters and stuff he's doing are the recreation mice and joysticks. I have one of each. They're great.
Yeah, thank you. Ron.
Hey, it's Ron from Ron's Computer Videos. When I am not hanging out behind the dumpster at Arby's, I'm either here at the Retro Repair Roundup, or I am also on the alternative, the second and fourth Sundays. I am at Old World Tech Fridays, Sunday edition, where we just basically kind of pick a topic and then pull it completely apart. So, but you can find me both of those places or at ronscompvids.com. Chris.
I'm Chris from Displaced Gamers. Best place to find me is on YouTube. And once again, if you haven't checked out any of those videos, I'd appreciate it. Hopefully you find yourself addicted. But otherwise, I'm also available on X and Blue Sky.
Awesome sauce.
Very cool.
Well, again, thank you all for stopping by tonight and checking out the show and having a chat with Chris. Remember, hit the like button, do the subscribe, all that stuff. Tell your friends and all of that. And we will see you again in a couple weeks. Good evening, everybody. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.